I had a wedding yesterday of a couple good friends, and it was a beautiful wedding. The couple themselves just really people of tremendous faith and love for one another. And it really struck me, this unity between faith and love. And really, when we break the two apart, we lose a sense of both. Both of them, in some ways, lose their soul. Faith is the discovery of a rather tricky kind of treasure. It's not a treasure that is just something out there, something material that we can just pass on from person to person. What makes this treasure unique is that the person who finds this pearl of great price and really wants it has to sell everything in order to acquire it. This is what the treasure of faith is like. This is what the kingdom of heaven is like. It is not a treasure unless we're willing to give ourselves to it completely. It's a bit of a paradox that the value of the treasure is not in its own self-contained worth, but the value of the treasure of faith is measured by how well we allow it to sink down into our hearts and to really take root. And until that happens, faith will not seem like a treasure at all. It will only seem like a big trunk of gold coins that we drag from place to place, looking for a pawn shop to exchange it for something a bit more useful. For many, faith and being a citizen of the kingdom of heaven feels like a burden that we are guilted into. It's a set of rules or a list of do's and don'ts that just feels heavy and oppressive. And many people reach the point of saying, well, if this is the kingdom of heaven, if this is what faith entails, then no thanks. I'll find something else, something that'll be a bit more useful to me in this world. But faith is not meant to be this way at all. Faith is not this burden that we drag through life, this heavy weight that we have to carry with us. It should more closely resemble falling in love. When you're in love, you don't feel weighed down by the obligation to express your affection for your beloved. Particularly when you first fall in love, you're not concerned about driving long distances to see your beloved or going late at night to pick them up at the airport or preparing dinner for them. Because when you're in love, you're seized by the other person. You feel caught up in your love for them. But if you remove that love, if you remove that tenderness and affection that you have for that person, what's left is just a list of things to do. You do the laundry, you take out the trash, you change poopy diapers. You do one thing after another. And removed from the context of love, it's just this burden. And maybe, I suspect at every point in someone's marriage at some point, you can feel that sense of weight, of heaviness. Because maybe for just a brief moment, you've lost sight of why you do it. You've lost sight of that gift of love. What makes the difference is the attachment to a person, this affection for a person. Without that person, without a desire to be with them, you are left only with that list of things to do. This is why, the vision statement for our parish, which I suspect not a whole lot of folks know, is that everyone we meet encounter and follow Jesus Christ. This is at the heart of what we do. It's not a sales pitch. It's not a marketing, a business strategy. It's not a way of kind of guilting people to do something. It is at the heart of what we do as God's people. If we don't have that relationship with the person of Jesus Christ, then nothing we do here makes sense. We're left with just empty rituals or being guilted into volunteering or one thing after another, but we've lost sight of what gets us out of bed in the morning. of what gives meaning and purpose to what we do. And so, really, what we have to remember is what it means to be in love, that experience of being in love. We have to remember that feeling of being pulled outside of ourselves, of only wanting to be with that other person, of being willing to give everything for their good. Because when we're in love, everything comes alive. It was beautiful to see it in the couple yesterday that I had the privilege of witnessing their marriage. Such passion in their eyes. In fact, he was a little teary-eyed before. I don't think it was the allergies. I think he was a little teary-eyed at being overwhelmed at what was happening. And this is what Jesus means, that when we understand that everything finds meaning and purpose in Him, then He says, like the scribe that has to go into the storeroom and bring out both the new and the old, that we have to do the same. That we have to go back and recognize that God wants our history. God wants our woundedness. God wants the times that we felt rejected. God wants all the joy that we've experienced. God wants that newness that we once had that maybe we've lost. God wants maybe the cynicism that is built up over time. God wants us to bring it all out and set it before Him so that it can all take on new meaning in His presence. Because love does that. Because when you marry someone, you don't just marry the person as they are in that moment. You marry what they've been, and you marry what they will become. And that's a little scary, because you don't quite know what they will become. But God wants all of that. Because life is not less with Jesus. Joy is not less with faith. Everything is more with Him. Everything takes on new meaning and new purpose. And that's not to say that all of our problems go away or that life is somehow easier. It just means that everything has a new meaning, has greater value because of our relationship with Him. And so faith is a treasure like this. The more we allow it to sink in, the more we allow it to take root in our hearts and to change us, the more everything else comes to life. And so really, the challenge of today is to let ourselves be loved. St. John says, "In this is love, not that we have loved God, but that He has first loved us." This treasure that we are looking for, this treasure of intimacy and hope and joy and new life, this treasure is already there. It's already been buried in the field of our hearts. We don't have to go digging through the bushes or rummaging through the refrigerator to find it. The gift is already there. The treasure is already there. And so our task is to let God pull that treasure out in us, to allow it to come to life so that it can bear fruit in our community and in our own personal life of faith. Because God knows that there are many people out there who are longing for and looking for the same thing that we are longing for and looking for. All we have to do is recognize that pearl of great price is there already. And we just have to pull it out and share it and offer it and allow it to change the way we live so that others can also receive the treasure that God has given to us.